Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. I am Dr. Melissa Mann, and this is Musings with Melissa. And today I wanted to talk with you about the 5 elements of intimacy with business. You wouldn't think those things go together. And I don't even know how this came up. It came up with my team somehow in the last couple of days as we were talking about the Business Done Different class that starts tomorrow. We were having a conversation about what is your relationship with business, how is business sort of like being in a relationship, and it actually is being in a relationship. It's just not something we think much about, and it's actually being in a creationship. So if you've ever heard anybody in Access Consciousness talk about relationship, you'll hear them use the word creationship, because relationship actually means the distance between two things, where creationship is where you're creating with something, which is actually whether you're creating with a person or you're creating with an entity, such as the creation with your business. That is actually the energy of what is possible with business that so many people don't choose or don't even know that it's available to them. So what I wanted to look at today is sort of like how we can be in an intimate relationship with our business and what that even means. Because people are like, intimate relationship? You want me to have sex with my business? What if it wasn't about sex? What if it wasn't about copulation? What if it's actually about communion and in being in total communion with your business? And what that could be, can create, and is actually possible. I'm going to turn my notifications off so that doesn't ding me for the next little bit here. All right, so if you've heard of the 5 elements of intimacy before, this might be a little bit of a review, and if you haven't, well then welcome to something totally different. And so the 5 elements of intimacy, as we talk about when we talk about relationship, and as I say, this actually relates to everything, are honor, trust, allowance, vulnerability, and gratitude. It's like I'm missing one. And when you have those elements in a romantic relationship, in a partnership, in anything, that's actually what creates greater. It's what creates communion, and it's necessary to have in order for something to work. So when you look at having those elements, you also need to look at having those elements of intimacy with you in order for a relationship with another person to work, and also to have these elements of intimacy with you in order for your business to work, and how you can also have these elements of intimacy within your business. So one of the things that is vital is to look at sort of like each of these things and where you're being them, and acknowledge where you're not being them. And that's something I've been talking a lot about lately. You may have heard me talk about sort of this like aggressive presence, like willing to be really present with you and see where, in any area of your life, like I've talked about this, I don't even know where I was, maybe in the money party, talking the other day about like, be willing to really look at stuff with yourself and be vulnerable with yourself so that you can, which is one of the 5 elements of intimacy, so you can see where you are being these things with business, and then see where you're not choosing these things, and so that you can destroy them and create everywhere that you're not already being them and create something different. So the first one, and they don't really have to be in any order, I just have them in the order they're in the foundation manual because that's what I went through to look at this, is honor. And honor is to treat someone with regard and not with judgment. And so where can you be that with business? Where can you be honoring of your business and to treat your business with regard instead of judgment? So you may be like, well, what? That doesn't even make sense. But if you look at it, and it might actually help you to see your business as a person as you're sort of doing this, even if that seems a little crazy. Just to if your business was a being and it is an entity, are you treating it with regard, or are you going into judgment of it? Are you telling it that it's wrong, it's bad, it's not creating enough, it's not successful enough, it's not creating what you set out to create? Anywhere that you're doing that, you're going into judgment, and you're actually not treating your business with honor and regard. So, hey Vinny, happy business to you. I love that. What would it take to have intimacy with my business? Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Vinny. Yeah, so where is it that you've gone into judgment with your business? Where is it that you're actually not treating with regard? Where is it that you're having like projections and expectations and separations and judgments of your business? And so what you do is you create separation and you create rejection, and then your business doesn't create, because that's the energy that you're actually putting into it. So everything that is, and everywhere that you haven't been willing to treat your business with the honor that it is, you destroy and create that. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, POC, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you're joining me for the first time and you've never heard me say that before, you've never heard that before, that is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, and you can go to theclearingstatement.com for more information on that. So let's look at the next one, which is trust. And I realized as I did this that this could be an entire class. Like, you could spend a whole like hour on honor and a whole hour on trust, and like you could actually make this into a really big thing. Maybe somebody else choose that. But so we're going through these relatively quickly, but just so that you start to at least get the energy of it and look at it, and then you could sort of take a deep dive into this more if you choose. And of course, I also have a Business Done Different class starting tomorrow where we can look at this in a lot greater detail. So trust is knowing that you will do what you will do, and because that's what you do. And that's with you, or that's with another person. So if you look at somebody else, you know, your trust that, Gary always gives the example of like, you have to trust that, your partner will never put the toilet seat down because your partner never put the toilet seat down. So you trust that people are who they are, and you can do that for yourself in business. And you can do this with your business too, but you are still the creator of your business. And so be willing to look at this with you too, and trust that you are who you are, and you're going to do what you've always done until you choose something different. And so that can actually relate to like this massive span in business. But what popped when I looked at this was trusting that you are who you are. So if you're not a person that typically gets up at 5 a.m., even though you say you're going to get up at 5 a.m., but you've never done it, and you always say you're going to, but you never do, or you do it once, then you don't do it again for 3 months, don't decide that you're going to start your business at 5 a.m. That doesn't work. That doesn't make sense, because that's not who you be. So if you know that you tend to procrastinate, you tend to have a lot of really great ideas, but you don't tend to move them into the world, acknowledge that and be willing to hire on the people in your business that will do that for you. So trust that you are going to be what you've always been, and not in like you can't change or you can't grow or whatever. Like, you can change and you can choose something different, but if it doesn't work for you, if you're just not a person who, like, I know a lot of people like this actually, who have a lot of ideas, like creative, awesome ideas, and they'll tell you about it and they're enthusiastic about it, and like you think they're going to take that idea and soar, and you talk to them 3 months later and you're like, oh, whatever happened with that thing? And they're like, oh yeah, I never did anything with that, and the idea dies. So if you know that about yourself and you know that you do this, then be willing to bring people into your business that will create it for you, that will actually move it into the world. And it's not wrong. And so this comes back to like treating your business with regard and treating you with regard. It's not making anything wrong, but trusting that you know what you know, and trust that it's okay to bring other people that you know that they will do what they always do, or, and be willing to see what that is in the beginning, and trust that then they will do that. Does that make sense? So it's really like trusting you, trusting your business, to not in a blind faith kind of a way, but in a practical, pragmatic way of what's going to work here. So allowance is, I don't know, maybe I should have done this one last, but that's okay, that's where we're going, is allowance is no point of view. Allowance is the rock in the stream. Allowance is when we talk about interesting point of view, which if you've never heard that tool before, I have videos on YouTube and things about it, but the general idea is that everything is just an interesting point of view, and nothing is judged. So you don't have to go into the judgment of right or wrong or good or bad. So something doesn't work in your judgment of it. So you're gonna go put a class into the world. Like, if you're a facilitator and you have classes and things, and for whatever reason the class doesn't run, you don't have people registered for it, or not enough people to make it worthwhile, or whatever that is. And most of us will go into the judgment of it, of like, oh, it didn't work, it didn't happen, I'm wrong, I'm bad, my business is wrong, I'm bad. And if you didn't do that, you could be in total allowance of it and like, okay, interesting point of view. And you can be space with it. Then you can actually see the gift in anything that is showing up. You can see the gift that is your business and the gift of whatever creation within the business of like, okay, well, what's right about this? I've had classes not run, and I've looked at with my team and we talked about it, look at like, okay, well, what was it? And it's not from a wrongness, it's like, hey, but what was it creating? Like, what did it create in the world that we haven't even acknowledged, that we might be able to, get the energy of now, but that we may not actually get the energy of more for, months to come. Like, maybe it created for the next class, maybe it created for another class, maybe it created for something else entirely, maybe it created for us. And with no point of view, and really looking at what's right about this I'm not getting, and being in total allowance of anything in your business. Because as soon as you've decided that something didn't work, then you shut it down. Then you go into okay, well, I'm wrong, I'm bad, my business is wrong, I'm bad. You go into judgment, which is the opposite of allowance. You're not treating it with regard, and it doesn't allow it to grow and expand. It's like it kind of just shuts off the energy right there. So what if you were willing to acknowledge that every choice creates? Every choice in business creates. Everything you choose to do, choose not to do, choose to say, choose not to say, everything, all of the energies create. So what would you truly like to create in your business? And if you could be in total allowance with it, what expansive energy could business be for you? So the next one is gratitude. So gratitude cannot exist in the space of judgment. Are we seeing a theme here? So all through every, the thread that goes through all these elements of intimacy is coming out of judgment and being willing to be in total allowance. And gratitude is one of the things that allows for that. You cannot have judgment and gratitude in the same space. So anywhere that you have gone into judgment of your business, you're not doing gratitude. But instead, if you're willing to be the gratitude of wow, I'm so grateful for my business. I'm so grateful for what it's created for me. I'm so grateful that it's shown me where I have, areas to look at even. Being in business is one of those things that gives you so much awareness, not only about the business itself, but it's so much greater than that. It gives you awareness of you and where you're functioning from, where you're receiving and willing to receive, and where you're not willing to receive, or where you've cut off receiving. And if you could have gratitude for your business, for all of the awareness it gives you every single day, and have gratitude that you have created this business, have gratitude for you, have gratitude that you were willing to do something that not a lot of people in the world are willing to do. And also, something I talk to people a lot about is the business that hasn't quite begun. And I actually had an idea for a business this morning that popped, and I was like, more to come on that later. But I haven't had anything like that in a while. I have a few little business things out in the world, but this was kind of loud this morning, and I was like, wow, I wonder what it would be like to create that. And I started playing in the energy of it, and it'll take some time, and this was maybe an hour ago. So, but I tell you all of that is that be grateful for the ideas that haven't even materialized yet. I have so many people that say, well, I have this idea for a business, or I know what my business kind of is, but I haven't actually created it yet. I haven't actually made the Facebook page or created a website or told anybody about it. I haven't actually done anything with it yet, but the idea is here. And they kind of go into the wrongness a lot of well, I haven't created it, therefore it doesn't exist. And is that actually true? Or does your business exist? Is it already in creation? And are you already in a creationship with it? And would you be willing to stop judging it and to actually have gratitude for the idea? Even if you never do anything with it, because it already is creating, it already has an energy in the world that is moving and creating something for your life. Maybe you have this business idea that if you had gratitude for it, it could grow, and it could grow into something different than it already is. It could grow into exactly what you think it is, or it could totally show up in a way that you have, you look back 5 years from now and be like, wow, I had no idea that little seed was going to grow into this tree. You had no idea. And so, but when you have gratitude for it, it gives it water to grow. Wow, everything that is, we destroy and create it. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Cool. The last one is vulnerability. So with vulnerability, it is really coming out of the right and wrong, but also like being willing to really look at where you're at, where your business is at, where's the money at, where is the money coming from, what is working, what maybe needs some tweaks, because the energy isn't there. Not because it's wrong, and not from a space of judgment, but from a space of like, hey, if I was going to be really vulnerable here, if I was really going to be vulnerable with my business, what is creating? What isn't creating? What would greater look like? And be willing to pull down all your walls and barriers, all your pride, all the things that you've decided are wrong, all the things that you've decided are right, and actually be vulnerable with it. Some of the things that get us tripped up the most are the things that we've decided are right. The things that we've decided that we have, right, perfect, and correct, that we're already creating. And acknowledge that, have gratitude for them, and still be willing to be in the question of like, okay, and if I know not this, what else is possible? Is this creating everything it could create? Is there something more possible in here? Would this creation like to change into something different? And be willing to be vulnerable with it, and be willing to be vulnerable with all the spaces that you don't want to look at, the things that like aren't really working, which you don't really want to look at, and like that's not fun, and that feels heavy, and you're just like, nope. And so instead what we do is we put this blinder up to the thing that isn't really creating, and we're like, nope, I don't want to look at it, nope, that's not happening, that's over there, and like we kind of do this thing, and that's not vulnerability either. So being willing to be completely vulnerable with your business in totality, warts and all, the things that are working, the things that aren't working, the ways you're judging it, the ways that you're judging you, and actually pull down all your walls and barriers and be present with it. And then look at, okay, if I was truly creating the business that I would love to have, if my business was creating everything that it is actually capable of, what choices are available now? And what can we choose that would blow it up in such a way that would create the enthusiasm and the joy and the adventure that I started a business for in the first place? Well, everything that doesn't allow that, I'm sick at slaying, queen destroy and create it. Right, wrong, good, bad, POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What if your business could be like this? I don't know, I'm getting tree images today, so we're just gonna run with it. This like plant, tree, or even like an animal, it's something that you nurture, something that you water, something that you create sunlight. If it's an animal, something you cuddle with and commune with and go on walks with. And like, what if it was something that you could be in true creationship with, that would greet you when you come home? It's sort of shifted into a dog. and be this like light in your world. And like, what if you could have true gratitude for it, and the entity of your business actually has gratitude for you, as strange as that may sound, because you have been the one to bring it into existence, to bring it into the world. And then you can have this communion, this creationship, this way of like having conversations. I have conversations with my business all the time, like, hey business, what would you like to be? What would you like to create? What am I missing? What am I not looking at? Where am I doing and not being? And what can I be different in business? And that's a question I've actually looked at a lot lately, and I've talked about in various ways over the last couple of weeks, is like being versus doing in business, and like being willing to actually be and be present with your business, and just be more, rather than like the doing and the like next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I've been looking at like, where have I not been being in business and I've been doing business? And one of the things that popped in some of these conversations was this elements of intimacy, was like really being in your life, being present in your life, doing the things that create for you, that give you like new and fresh ideas, that like take you into the world and whether it's communing with nature or taking a bath or journaling or whatever it is that, and maybe all of those things that creates for you, please acknowledge how much that is business and that you're always in business. And because business is really the creation of your life. And as you do that, then it's like being willing to be more and look at these elements of intimacy, and being in true creationship has a being to it, which is very different than a doing. And I've done different things on like things to do to start a business and actions to take. And those things are required. Having action, taking action in business is required. Yes, it won't just create itself. Like you do have to create it. But you can look at where you can take action that actually creates greater versus the doing of like, well, I'm posting all these things on Instagram. It's such like a thing that I did for a while of like trying to post on Instagram every day. And I was like, this isn't creating anything and this sucks and this isn't fun for me. You'll still see me post on Instagram, but not every day, because that wasn't actually creating for me. So, but looking at like, where is it that like you're following somebody else's protocol or like program of like, follow these 10 steps to succeed in business, and actually be willing to, if I knew not that, and I hadn't been, if I wasn't listening to everybody else, and I wasn't trying to like do it from everybody else's point of view, what can I be, and where can I be honor, trust, allowance, vulnerability, gratitude with business that would create something very, very different. So I have wow, it's late. I just looked at the clock. I was a little shocked. I have a Business on Different class starting tomorrow. We are still doing the How to Become Money workbook at our normal time at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. So it'll start right after that tomorrow at 11. And then the rest of the weekend, it'll be like full days. I think it's like 9:30 to 4:30 or something like that. I'd have to look at it. But full, days of Business and Different, and then tomorrow it'll just start a little bit later because we have the How to Become Money workbook in the morning. And if you have not joined the How to Become Money workbook, tomorrow is day 2, or week 2 of it. It's creating so much in my world already, and I get that it's creating a lot in the world of everybody who's chosen the class so far. You can still join. I don't know that I'll actually cut off enrollment, but easier to join now than to try to listen back to all the weeks that you missed. So, and it's fun to be on live, let's be honest. I get so much more when I can be on live with classes. And you do get the recordings if the live doesn't work for you. So either way, it's totally fine. And everybody has their own thing. I'm listening to a call with Simone Nillis today that happened a few days ago, and it's fantastic. I'm like, oh, it's created so much. So we get more from wherever we're willing to receive it. So I hope you guys have an amazing day, and join me either for jump in on the How to Become Money workbook, or if you're ready to really, really, really change your business and have like your reality with business and a business that is fun and expansive and joyful and works for you, join me for the Business on Different class tomorrow. I cannot freaking wait. So I will talk to you all soon. Thank you for being here with me. Bye.